Chapel Hill, North Carolina for ACC College Hoops. The Dean Smith Center and Roy Williams Court, the site of our game tonight, and the fantastic freshman Cole Anthony averaging over 27 points per game for North Carolina, the number 5 team in the nation. And tonight they take on the Elon Phoenix out of the Colonial Athletic Association. North Carolina number 5, just the third meeting between the teams since 1950, but we'll crank it up tonight for you on ACC College Hoops. It is so great to have you with us for our game tonight. Tom Wormy along with Corey Alexander, and we just got to look at Cole Anthony. He has been unbelievable, rewriting the record books here at North Carolina, and that includes his first game at Notre Dame when he scored 34 points.
Well, no surprise to anyone sitting here when you think about Cole Anthony and what he was able to do at the high school ranks, the most valuable player at the McDonald's All-American game, the Jordan Brand Classic, and the Hoop Summit. And so Cole Anthony has just continued his onslaught on college basketball the same way he did in high school, but a little bit different stakes right now.
I think the question that everybody's asking, and Roy Williams wants the answer, who follows up behind Cole Anthony as far as the scoring is concerned? And it's our startup, Corey, brought to you by our Honda dealers of the Carolinas.
I think that person has to be Armando Bacot. A double-double in their last game out, 12 points, 11 rebounds. Another McDonald's All-American, part of this heralded class of Roy Williams. And Bacot has to become that interior presence that allows North Carolina to be successful moving forward into the season.
For the Phoenix tonight, it's Marcus Sheffield. Now, this is a guy who scored in double digits in each game this season for the 2-2 Elon Phoenix.
And Sheffield, a grad transfer from Stanford, he's used to playing, of course, in the big environments. And for him, an opportunity to come here and play on the road at North Carolina has to be special. But was able to be successful at Michigan, but he's going to need some help as well. It's not only Cole Anthony putting up big numbers without getting help.
Yeah, the Tar Heels have won 12 in a row in this series with the Phoenix, including last year when they defeated Elon on their home court. We're coming back for the opening tip, those starting lineups, the Phoenix and the Tar Heels. This is ACC College Hoops. Away from the start of our game, the Elon Phoenix, the North Carolina Tar Heels. Here are the starting lineups, and for Elon, it includes Simon Wright, their leading rebounder, who had 7 boards in the loss in their most recent game on the road against Michigan and played 28 minutes of career high. Leaky Black trying to pick up the shooting against Gardner-Webb, just 1 of 6 from the floor and only 2 points in 33 minutes for Leaky Black. And Cole Anthony leading the way for North Carolina. Anthony, 27.3 points per game, but he's also rebounding as well, just over 7 per game for the freshman out of Oak Hill Academy, Mount the Wilson, Virginia. All right, it's time for our keys to the game, brought to you by your local Ford dealer with Corey Alexander.
And for the Phoenix, they have to find the range. Over their last 2 games, they combined 6 for 43 from beyond the three-point arc. For North Carolina, they've got to pick up the pace. The first time in the Roy Williams era, in the first 3 games, they have not scored over 80 points. They're used to playing fast. They have to continue to do that and find easier looks, especially in transition.
The Naismith Hall of Famer Roy Williams on the bench for his 17th year coaching the Tar Heels. 3 times the national champ most recently in 2017 and 9 times to the Final Four. And right now his team is the number 5 team in the nation, but a lot of development to come from this Tar Heel program.
It really is, and this is a North Carolina team, and most Roy Williams teams get better as the season goes along. He normally likes to use November and December to determine who is going to be in the rotation, but this team not as deep, so having to develop a lot of younger players, getting them ready for what will be the ACC tournament.
That is a wide open layup for the Phoenix. Hosier gets the first 2 for Elon.
And that can't make Roy Williams happy, especially on the first possession when you go over the scouting report and know what Elon normally is going to do. But great execution by the Phoenix on the first play.
The sophomore from Italy with a layup. At the other end, it's a dunk.
And that's one of the areas that Coach Williams talked to us about before the game. Cole Anthony is an excellent passer, above average passer, but he doesn't have the assist numbers because his teammates honestly aren't making shots right now. But the more trust he gains, and then he has in Armando Bacot, who was able to finish it off. But Elon off to a great start.
A 3-pointer from right out of the corner. They struggled from 3-point distance in that most recent game that Corey referenced on the road against Michigan. Just 3 of 13 on 3-point attempts for the Phoenix, and a foul coming up.
But I like what North Carolina's doing early, going inside to Bacot, trying to establish him on the interior, which will open up things for Keeling Leaky Black, and of course Cole Anthony on the perimeter.
Wright picked up the foul for Elon. Bacot at the free throw line, just 1 of 6 so far this season from the stripe.
And all of that 1 of 6 came pretty much in game 1 against Notre Dame here at home, where he struggled from the free throw line. But Bacot only played 2 minutes in the UNC Wilmington game, got hit in the head, missed the remainder of that game, but came back with a strong performance against Gardner-Webb and is building momentum off to a great start here this evening as well.
Yeah, the 12 points and 11 boards against Gardner-Webb, both season highs for Bacot, and his first double-double. Traveling violation in the paint. Hosier.
But give Bacot credit for getting out and covering that and getting back to the rim, as Coach Mike Schrage in his first season is the head coach for the Elon Phoenix, coming from Ohio State, where he spent 2 years there and also a year at Butler. And a very well-traveled assistant coach getting his first opportunity to sit in the next chair.
Yeah, he was also at Stanford for 8 seasons. At Duke with Coach K as the director of operations and recruiting coordinator. And the resume.
And you know, you mentioned Stanford. Stanford is actually where he built the relationship recruiting Marcus Sheffield. And so, of course, he recruited Sheffield. Then, of course, he left, never coached Sheffield at Stanford. But Sheffield remembered him from the recruiting days. So when he got the job at Elon, he reached out to Sheffield, who was making a grad transfer move. And it's been a great match between the two of them.
That's a three-pointer, another one for the Phoenix.
Well, the Phoenix getting off to a great start, 2 for 2 from beyond the arc. We talked about the fourth key was for them to find the range, and they've done just that.
That was Hunter Woods for 3. Misfire from Black. Foul underneath after the shot.
And that's a good look for Leaky Black, just unable to finish it off. Cole Anthony splitting the trap in the double team on the pick and roll. Makes the right play, finding Leaky Black, just unable to knock that 3 down. But Mondo Bacot, sorry, Bacot. I keep calling him Bacot. I'll be doing that all night. Sorry. His mom, Christy's at home, getting mad at me right now.
You made the necessary correction.
I did.
All good.
And I'm going to have to do it again.
And you know, it's early in the season, and there you go, a miscue.
Yeah, but
Tar Heels.
But this young man's been working with me since he was in the 7th grade. I should.
Oh, wait a minute now. Now the truth comes out.
I should have that one down.
Well, that expression will tell the story of the opening minutes.
Well, you don't like the turnover and you have miscommunication early. Just throwing the basketball out of bounds, and you see Garrison Brooks popping out. Armando Bacot going down to set the screen and running away from the ball. Roy Williams, to his displeasure, removes the glasses, but it's still early, Coach.
We had a very nice chat with Coach Williams in his office prior to the game this evening. Asked him about Cole Anthony, obviously. Did he expect this sort of rapid trajectory from the freshman? He didn't say much. He just kind of said yes and nodded his head.
Well, he knew that Cole Anthony was going to have to shoulder a tremendous load this year. And once he figured out, you know, probably a year ago that Kobe White would no longer be here because he was playing so well, he knew that Cole Anthony had to be target number 1 because he needed to have a point guard that could come in and take over the load that in the void that was left with so many departures from last year's North Carolina team.
That's a team that made it to the semifinals of the ACC tournament, contested in Charlotte, North Carolina. Another 3 for Elon.
And Hunter Woods with his second 3. And yeah, you're talking about great ball movement for Elon, but not getting back quick enough in transition, building that wall and trying to keep Cole Anthony out of the paint.
Tar Heels were a #1 seed last year in the NCAA tournament in the Midwest, but lost in the Sweet 16 against Auburn as the Phoenix turn it over.
And Wormy, in 2.5 minutes, the Phoenix have hit just as many three-pointers at 3 as they did an entire game at Georgia Tech, where they went 3 for 30, or at Michigan, where they went 3 for 13. So now when you look at this, they've got built some confidence here. Maybe it's the state. Maybe the fact they're playing in the state of North Carolina has helped the Phoenix.
Foul on the shot attempt from Leaky Black. Woods picks up his first personal.
And as we talk about the players that can really step up and help Cole Anthony, especially on the offensive end of the floor, Leaky Black is one of those guys In my opinion, he has a lot of, his game is very similar to Theo Pinson. And, you know, so the ability to handle the basketball, make plays, really can be a point guard at times. And one of the things I think we'll probably see from Roy Williams as the season moves along is times where he will take Cole Anthony off the basketball and allow Leaky Black to handle the basketball and just allow Cole Anthony to score because he's so exceptional with the ball in his hand scoring. But he also attracts so much attention that it will get his teammates open as well.
Leaky Black also averages just over 6 boards per game, but as Corey mentioned, just 28% shooting on the young season for Black, the sophomore from Concord, North Carolina, and Coxville High School. Defensive pressure from the Tar Heels. Andrew Platek has committed the lineup as well. He wears number 3 for North Carolina. There's another three-point attempt, and the result is a soft bounce. So Elon hits yet another 3 over the Carolina defense.
And I believe that's Sheffield knocking down the 3. Everyone getting involved in the action from beyond the arc. 4 3-pointers already on the evening for the Phoenix.
Phoenix haven't missed a shot yet. They're 5 for 5 and those 4 3-pointers. Turn around inside of the follow slam. Garrison Brooks going on a rim bender and cleaning up the miss.
That's North Carolina basketball. Getting a shot on the glass. If you don't finish it, going up and getting second chance points. North Carolina notorious for being one of the best rebounding teams on both ends of the floor every year in and out. So Garrison Brooks just holding true to that.
It's the first miss from long distance as McIntosh misfires. Entry pass knocked away. Fight for the loose ball. Platek able to get it in the backcourt. Anthony trying to work off of that screen. Brooks baseline. Weak side and pulled down by the Phoenix.
And nothing wrong with that shot. You like that shot if you're North Carolina. It's a makeable shot for Garrison Brooks along the baseline. And good ball movement. And again, that's all you can ask for is the shots that your team can make. When you get those, you live with the result.
Anthony is on Sheffield. Phoenix lost last Friday at Michigan 70 to 50. Sheffield trying to dump it off, and that goes out of bounds, and it is off of Elon and Gozer's fingertips.
And Sheffield pulling up from 3, getting a friendly bounce. Wait a minute. This isn't the Shaw Center. This is the Smith Center. He's not supposed to get that here.
14-9 with the Phoenix in front. 15-13 to go in our first half. They are 4 of 5 from beyond the arc.
Well, to start the game off, Simon Wright finding the corner ball in the 3 for 3, and then Hunter Woods knocking down 2 threes for him, and then Marcus Sheffield getting involved in the action, getting the friendly bounce here on the road. 4 3-pointers already has surpassed each of the last 2 games for the Elon Phoenix with just under 4 minutes played. So when you think about that, Mike Sharkey has to be excited about the start that his team is off to right now. North Carolina not so successful from beyond the arc or even inside the arc, only shooting 50% compared to a red-hot Phoenix.
Elon had been 32% as a team on the season from three-point territory. Backing in, Brooks. He's got 4.
And that's an area where North Carolina can have an advantage in this game. Garrison Brooks is going to be able to win his matchup on the block and could often open up opportunities for perimeter players if the Phoenix have to double team. So one of the things Roy Williams wants to be able to exploit is his interior presence in this game.
Brooks, 6 points, 6 rebounds, 30 minutes of action against Gardner-Webb in the most recent game for North Carolina. And Elon is going to the line. Leaky Black picked up his first personal foul.
And Elon really, after having been blown out at Georgia Tech and at Michigan, no lack of confidence coming into the Smith Center. And of course, Marcus Sheffield not going to lack confidence. He went for 22 against Michigan. He knows he can get it done on the road, and he's been great thus far here. You look at the numbers for him on the season, 17.3 points per game, shooting 43%. He's really been the one bright spot, the only double-figure scorer for the Phoenix on the season thus far as scoring average. The one guy that Mike Shraggy knows he can count on to show up.
6 points tonight for Sheffield at the other end. Brooks missed the dunk. Ball came back off the rim and out.
Now see, that's the one where Cole Anthony said, wait a minute, you just messed up my assist.
North Carolina trailing 17-11. Irvin for three, and it's all net.
Oh, it's got contagious now. And no, I've had conversations with Mike Schrage. He's talked about they are a much better shooting team than they've shown, and you're seeing it now that this Elon team has the ability to be able to knock down threes, as does Levi Black, who's able to knock down one from the top of the key. And that's a big bucket for his confidence.
First made three of the season for Black. He's got 4 points so far tonight. Lead is 6 to Phoenix. They led by 7. Earlier 11-4. That was the largest deficit of the season so far for North Carolina as Playtech calls it in. Brooks muscling his way in prior to the shot, and contact with the defender Irvin, who will pick up the foul.
And Irvin, knowing that he was at a disadvantage guarding Brooks on the block there, trying to pick up the charge early. A good attempt, but invading the cylinder before Brooks even makes his move. So the foul will go against Irving on that one. But again, I like this. It's a smart attempt when you're giving up that type of advantage. It ends up being a great possession because North Carolina turns the basketball over on the underneath out-of-bounds play.
It's a third turnover. 6 points off of those turnovers for Elon. Just over 13 minutes to go in this first half.
Roy Williams continuing to ask himself, I'm a Hall of Famer. Why do I keep coming back and doing this? You know, but I have been around a number of North Carolina practices this year and had a chance to talk with Coach Williams. He's really enjoying coaching this team. And when you see someone who's had so much success on the sidelines, you know, they get a bit of a kick out of the new challenge of taking on these young players and trying to mold them into a great, you know, college player, great college team, which he's been able to do so successfully over the past 30 years.
Sheffield knocked it away, but it was up on the rim, and a goaltending violation against Sheffield, and you'll credit the basket to Brooks.
But that's North Carolina basketball. One of the things they want to be able to do is get out in transition. So when you can use your defense to do so, it helps you. And Garrison Brooks doing a great job defensively and coming up with 2 points because of it.
And he's got 6 in total now for Garrison Brooks, the junior from Lafayette, Alabama. 6'9", 235 pounds in the middle for the Tar Heels. Irvin misses, high rebound to Anthony. Looking for a lane, knocked away. Quick hands, Hunter Woods. Sheffield elevating and jamming.
And there is quite an Elon contingent in the building. Of course, not far down the road in Burlington. And many of the Phoenix faithful have shown up here tonight. I know there have been a couple of my Elon friends who have tuned in for this one. My boy Steve Walker watching at home, jumping around all over the TV, seeing Marcus Sheffield go in with the highlight dunk.
Sheffield is jumping around a dunk at one end. He stuns Coach Williams with the block at the other.
And Sheffield going to get a break right here before the media timeout. Great decision by Mike Schrage to get him out now because he won't spend much time on the bench during this game.
He's got 8 points. He leads all scorers with those 8. He's 3 of 4 from the floor and has connected on his only 3 attempt. And he's on the bench getting a breather right now. Anthony tried the nifty dribble, almost lost it, saved it to Black. Elon's had the lead the entire way in the first half as Black misses deep into the shot clock.
Getting out in transition, points off turnovers. The Phoenix showing off here at the Smith Center. Marcus Sheffield having himself an evening. Many of those players that were returning this year, of course, Mike Schrage did not coach that team a year ago, but many of these players do remember that, and they've come out with a completely different level of focus in this game here at the Deanie Smith Center. They remember that 49-point beatdown that they took to open up their building a year ago to the hands of Roy Williams and Kobe White, Cam Johnson, and Luke May. I'm sure that's something that they talked about over the summertime and wanted to have a much stronger performance when they came here.
North Carolina's won 15 of the last 16 meetings between the programs and 12 in a row overall and here in Chapel Hill. The Smith Center. Latex Avenue cut off. Brooks tried to find that miss. It went out of bounds, and the officials are going to say that's off the Tar Heels. Ron Groover, Bill Covington Jr., Ray Stions tonight.
Great crew we have on hand tonight. Ball does hit the rim, and you see coming in, that's Garrison Brooks hits it first, but there is contact afterwards. Brooks may have had a case on that one, but rarely will you ever change the official's mind on that play.
Elon turned it right back to North Carolina. Bill Covington was with us last night in Charlottesville, where Vermont challenged the defending national champs, who ultimately won that game against the Catamounts. And a shout out to our broadcast colleague Mike Jaminski, on the shelf with a hand injury. Mike was unable to be with us for the broadcast last night. We thank Corey for filling in for Mike, but we wish the G-Man a very speedy recovery, and he's supposed to be with me next week at Notre Dame, so I expect him to be there.
Well, I'm hoping he gets back, because, you know, you're my guy and all that, but 2 nights in a row, that's a lot.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was going to happen. Platek on the drive, and a layup.
And the transition bucket once again for North Carolina, pushing the pace off of a rebound. Getting a stop and getting out in transition is the North Carolina way. And one of the areas of concern for Roy Williams, he wants to be able to pick up this tempo. But right now, when you're not getting stops, and Elon's scoring the way that they have, but that's one way to stop it.
Off top. Black tried the one-handed alley-oop lay-in. Rolled off the edge of the rim and went out of bounds, and will stay with North Carolina.
Well, if you've watched North Carolina basketball for the last 16 seasons as Roy Williams has been the head coach, you know that they love to get up and down the floor in transition. And it starts with great defense by Cole Anthony on that possession, coming up with the block shot and keeping it in bounds. North Carolina unable to finish on the break, but yet still with an opportunity to score off the turnover.
Brooks had the last 3 baskets prior to the driving layup from Platek. And Cole Anthony with just 2 shot attempts midway through this first half.
One thing you don't have to worry about, Tom, is him being shy. He will find his look.
There's the look, front rim. And now exactly 10 minutes to go in our first half of play. Tom Wormy, Corey Alexander with you, and our outstanding production crew, led by producer Eric Kendall. Elon class of 2011. Monty Dale is our director, and it's another 3-pointer for Elon.
And now 6 threes, 6 made 3-pointers for Elon on the evening. Their combined total from their last 2 games.
They average 8.5 made threes per game. As Anthony was fouled, keep it on the floor, according to Bill Covington Jr. And as Corey mentioned, they've got 6 made threes tonight.
But off of an offensive rebound, North Carolina trying to scramble to match up, and a great extra pass by Sheffield. And McIntosh able to knock one down from the wing to extend the lead to 7 for the Phoenix.
Black is on the bench for North Carolina. Turn around for Pierce.
And great recognition with Elon going to the zone defense, getting a playmaker right in the middle. And Justin Pierce is able to find that sweet spot right inside that zone and come up with a quick bucket for him.
First basket for Pierce, who averages just over 10 points per game. That is a miss from McIntosh and a rebound from Anthony. Carolina.
Tom, honestly, I think that's the reason why North Carolina can be more of a running team, is because Cole Anthony is a great rebounder for a guard, averaging 7.3 rebounds a game, and he is intent on trying to average a triple-double. He averaged a triple-double a year ago for us at Oak Hill. and he wants to do it in college basketball. Got to get his assist up, but his rebounding is getting close.
Anthony with an assist here on the three from Christian Keeling. His first points of the night. Keeling still trying to get familiar with his surroundings as the grad transfer from Charleston Southern, although he did score over 1,600 points at Charleston Southern.
He did, and we talked, of course, with Coach Williams about it, and it's simply about each and every one of these guys. When you think about Keeling and Justin Pierce, the two grad transfers, getting acclimated to what are good shots for them within the Roy Williams system. And again, Cole Anthony is a willing passer. He will give the basketball up. You've seen that he's a great facilitator, but he has to trust that you are going to make those shots. And to this point, you know, his North Carolina teammates really haven't done a great job of making shots, which has caused him to shoot more and trusting in his own game more so than he has in his teammates. That is going to change as the season goes along.
Sheffield misses. Anthony averages just over 3 assists per game as he whips this one into the corner. That's a 3 attempt and off the rim from Pierce. Able to get it back. Tough pass, the play tag. Got it. Platek with 4 points.
In a tie ball game right now, and of course this very educated North Carolina faithful recognizing that, and now we're back to starting over, but they see the defensive intensity having picked up for the Tar Heels.
First tie of the night. Elon is led by as many as 9. But North Carolina has come back to tie it on the strength of a 14-5 run against the Phoenix. 25 all, our first tie of the night. North Carolina working on a 7-0 scoring run inside of 8 minutes to go in our first half. This is what the Tar Heels have done in the early season. That includes the win against Gardner-Webb when they out-rebounded Gardner-Webb 44-23 and shot 46% from the floor.
And you see the first time in Roy Williams' era that UNC has not scored 80-plus points in the first 3 games. In none of those 3 games have they reached 80. Now, this is also probably the first time that they've opened up a regular season versus an ACC opponent. So you kind of give them a pass on that one. But this is a North Carolina program that's used to playing fast, scoring a bunch of points. I'm not sure if they have the personnel to do it this year. But, of course, you know, the pace of play is something that Roy Williams concerns himself with most. He wants to see Cole Anthony pushing the basketball even more. And Anthony's done that. But he's got to find someone to make some shots outside of Anthony.
Prior to tonight for Cole Anthony, 82 points in his first 3 games.
And I had the opportunity to see the great Phil Ford before the game, and I walked up the field and said, I hear somebody here putting up Phil Ford-like numbers. Phil just laughed, and he said, yeah, but he's getting Corey Alexander like Phil going to tips.
I think the words high volume come to mind.
Hey, his initials are CA tonight.
Platek on the drive, and the foul goes against North Carolina. Phil Ford,
the legend,
3-time All-American, former assistant coach here as well. Now, he had 82 points in 3 straight games. He did it on 3 different occasions.
But he had multiple times where he had 90 in three game stretches.
82 or more, exactly.
Yeah, so, I mean, he is really...
Right. But Cole Anthony is the first guard to do it since Phil, and the first player since Tyler Zeller in 2011.
So now I'll ask you this, and I know you grew up, you know, in the Northeast.
Yes, I did.
You're a Syracuse guy, so you were Big East growing up.
Oh, boy.
Is there a better ACC point guard ever than Phil Ford?
Well, there's one name from Syracuse that comes to mind right away.
Okay. And I love Pearl. I wouldn't say he was better than Phil Ford.
Okay.
But Pearl played in the Big East. I think the only
player. Very rugged, Corey.
It was. No, I agree.
Very rugged. And scoring was tough.
I'm talking ACC point guard. The only person that I can put on Phil Ford level, my favorite ACC player of all time, Kenny Anderson. And he was spectacular for his 2 years at Georgia Tech.
Yep.
From ACC basketball, to me, it's those 2 guys. Everyone else kind of comes in behind.
So I was counting all the teams that are in the ACC now.
Yeah,
so that's all good, right?
I mean, you Syracuse guys are going to find a way to get your guy in there, of course.
And he played for our broadcast colleague and former Georgia Tech head coach Bobby Cremins, of course.
Yeah.
Still tied at 25, and now 3 fouls for Wright for Elon. Brooks is at the free throw line.
And that's a big loss, having 3 fouls on Wright in the first half. Elon's leading rebounder, and of course their physical presence in the paint. When you have to go up against the sides that you're going to play against with Bacot and Garrison Brooks on the interior, Wright being saddled with 3 fouls could be huge.
Brooks went to the court to save that one and found Black. His pass deflected by Sheffield, and then Black commits the foul.
And right now, Leaky Black at the point guard position with Cole Anthony getting a break and a turnover, and then picking up, I believe, his second foul.
Second foul on Black.
And this is an area where, of course, Roy Williams is going to have to live with some mistakes from Leaky Black, who missed the majority of his first year at North Carolina with an ankle injury. Missed a lot of this year's preseason, but still dealing with that same ankle. So he really hasn't had a chance to get back into a rhythm, trying to do it on the fly right now. North Carolina had a number of injuries over the summer that slowed their progress. Sterling Manley still not playing. Anthony Harris, one of their other heralded freshmen, not playing due to a knee injury that he suffered in high school, not fully recovered. So, you know, this North Carolina team isn't quite whole yet.
Over 3 minutes now without points for the Phoenix. McIntosh, Black caught up to him. Irvin. Baseline jumper miss from Hannah. Platek was the player who got that previous foul, and you saw Coach Williams animated on the sideline in disagreement with Ron Gruber, who had made the call against Platek. Keeling off the heel. Stuck on 25s here, Corey.
Well, yeah, we had some scoring going early, but it's kind of cooled off a little bit. But this is where the Phoenix have found their way early from beyond the 3-point arc. Unable to finish on that one. But, of course, if you're Elon and you're going to come in here and get a win, you're going to have to do it from beyond the 3-point arc. You're going to have to be way better than North Carolina is. I believe Bacot is going to get his second foul. Well, they held up number 5, but it's actually 2 number 5s. So that could be Pozier who picked up that foul. Bacot's at the free throw line, prepared to shoot. So that would just be called 5-on-5 front. No? Get it? Not with me on that one?
All I know is Bacot's at the free throw line. So we sorted that out. That's also the 8th team foul on Elon. 5 right now on North Carolina. With 5:45 to go. Struggles from the free throw line for Bacot continue. He was just 1 of 6 from the line coming into the game. He's a freshman from Richmond, Virginia.
And he's going to be really good here in North Carolina, finding his way right now. And, of course, trying to get adjusted to the difference in college basketball compared to being the high school All-American that he was.
Phoenix, Corey, made their first 5 shots, and now 4 of their last 16 as Sheffield had that one blocked as he tried to go up against Keeling, and Keeling won the fight.
But you also have to take into account the defensive intensity for North Carolina has picked up significantly since the beginning of the game, where the Phoenix were getting anything that they want. I believe that was a stern talking to by Roy Williams in the huddle that got the attention of the guys in white. And you've seen they've been able to take advantage of it on the defensive end of the floor, but offensively, North Carolina now stuck on 25 in a bit of a drought.
Since tying the game, this is their 6th chance to take the lead, and they get it on the follow.
There's my man, G.A. Greg Anthony wearing all his North Carolina garb. Of course, national champion for the UNLV Running Rebels, my favorite college team of all time.
Sheffield spins away from the defender. Shot clock is at 10. Game clock inside of 5 minutes to go in our first half.
Look how far the pressure is on the perimeter. And you can tell Sheffield had no chance of getting that off. Armando Bacot, great job moving his feet defensively and recognizing that the shot clock was about to wear down. And just getting that long arm up, blocking the shot of Sheffield right at the shot clock buzzer.
North Carolina has its first lead of the night, 27-25, with a tip in on that last possession. And they forced Elon into a shot clock violation. Phoenix last year 11-21 overall, lost in the first round of their conference tournament to UNC Wilmington.
And a great hire by the Phoenix, bringing Mike Shragi from Ohio State. Great person, has a tremendous amount of connections in this game and relationships. Been an assistant coach for 20+ years. I believe he'll do a great job at Elon. And of course, when you look at the Sharks, they have a tremendous recruiting tool now to be able to attract student athletes come in and play basketball. That place is immaculate. I spent some time there on Thursday, and I can tell you right now, it's very few places. Yeah, I mean, you can't imagine. I can see why the Princeton Review named Elon the most beautiful campus in the country. Not beautiful for Poser right now as he's trying to stop the bleeding, and that actually happened after the tip in from Cole Anthony. Anthony running back down the floor, and the two of them collided. And I've been telling people for years that Cole is hard-headed, so it's not going to affect him at all.
Literally and figuratively. He's got 4 points tonight so far, and he's given North Carolina the lead 27-25 as they attend to Poser. Told you Elon had started 5 of 6 from three-point distance, just 1 of 8 from beyond the arc against this Carolina D. Keeling lost the handle. And now it's a offensive foul as Anthony got back to hold his position.
And Roy Williams animated on the sideline, having a discussion with Christian Keeling. As Cole Anthony gets back on defense, does a great job of setting his feet and absorbing the contact, taking the charge to regain possession for the Tar Heels. But Coach Williams not happy at all in that last possession with Keeling and letting him know it as he came back down the floor.
Keeling has 3 points in the game. Brooks leads the way with 6 so far in the first half for North Carolina.
But you know what I love about that? You can be upset with the guy. As long as you leave him in the game, I'll live with it. Coach, you yell at me all you want, but don't take me out.
There's Anthony working out of that corner. Little step back for 3. Fouls against North Carolina. Look like Bacot is coming over the top for his second personal.
2 on Bacot.
So the Phoenix will have the ball when we come back, but trailing 27-25.
If you want
27-25 Tar Heels, although the Phoenix putting up a fight in this first half. Mike Shragi, Roy Williams. How about the contrast in those two coaches? Schragi's in his first year as the head coach of the Phoenix. Roy Williams in his 17th season, and overall, this is season number 32. He's got 874 career victories, 6th most all-time in Division I.
And I believe he's 5 behind Dean Smith right now. Close to catching his mentor, and
Coach Smith has 879 career victories.
So I would be correct.
You are right. Again, as usual, Corey Alexander.
You know, I know that took a lot for you to say that. I will be sure to drop off the envelope before we leave on the evening.
Not at all. I feel like I just worked with you recently. I don't know what it is. Former Virginia standout, all-conference selection, and 8 years in the NBA for Corey Alexander. And there's the numbers.
And
to confirm what you said.
Elon coming out with a little bit of full court pressure and dropping back into that zone defense.
Second tie of the night. Keeling short. Still trying to find that shooting rhythm.
This is the guy you got to be careful of. Woods got to start it with the three-point shooting. Keeling trying to get in and take that charge. But now the Phoenix with an opportunity to take the lead at the free throw line. And North Carolina having a very difficult time separating themselves from the Elon Phoenix, who, even though they haven't been spectacular in their last 2 games on the road at power schools, have come in and had a great first half here at the Smith Center.
And they are 3 for 3 as a team from the free throw line. They only got to the line 8 times at Michigan and lost by 20. They were 7 of 8 from the line in that game, and they haven't missed tonight. That's now 9 points for Woods. Freshman from Pasadena, California, 6'6", and 193 pounds. Scored only 4 points at Michigan in 22 minutes of action.
Yeah, if Woods makes this free throw, which he does, he'd be able, the only other person to get into double figures against one of these hot major teams that Elon has played against outside of Sheffield. They haven't had another double-figure score other than Sheffield in either of the past 2 games.
10 points for Woods, couple of three-pointers as well on 3 attempts from three-point range. And with just over 3 minutes to go in the first half, Elon has the lead, 29-27. After getting blown out of their own building a year ago. And the jam.
Brandon Huffman getting involved in the action. Baycott going out with the 2 fouls, making way for Huffman to get onto the floor and making an impact early with the offensive rebound and putback. And I'm sure Roy Williams would love to be able to get some consistent minutes from Brandon Huffman, but doing it on both ends of the floor, scoring on one end and rebounding on the other. That's all you can ask for the big fella.
Huffman's already above his season average in scoring, which was 1.3 coming into the game. He's also averaging 1.3 rebounds per game as well. Anthony, dribble, step back. This is Woods bringing it up for Elon. Tied at 29. Now just over 2 minutes to go in the first half.
Sheffield's playing with a tremendous amount of confidence. You can see it, and he recognizes he's got the size advantage over Keeling, who's guarding him, and feels like he can just get to his spot whenever he wants to and raise over top, knock it down.
10 points for Sheffield. From just beyond the free throw line, and he's got 8 points in the first half. And we're tied again at 31. 1:40 to go in the first half. Luckily, the Phoenix did not look at the recent history between the teams. Again, this is just the 3rd meeting since 1950. But they have lost 12 in a row to North Carolina. But it wasn't close last year.
But the Phoenix do have 4 wins in this series. They are 4-20, but not everyone can say they've got 4 wins against the Tar Heels. Now, when you say that this is only the 3rd game they played since 1950, I'm not sure when those wins were, as Cole Anthony reaches in and picks up his first foul on the evening. But one of the areas where Elon has been able to have success is at the free throw line in the bonus. So when, of course, North Carolina continues to foul them and put them at the free throw line, they've taken advantage of those opportunities and do so again to build the lead.
First point of the night for Wooten. And now 7 for 7 from the free throw line of the first half for the Elon Phoenix, and they're up by 2.
And again, the full court pressure, and only to slow down North Carolina. They know they want to push the basketball off of makes and misses.
Miller missed.
And that's a makeable shot for Miller, but of course he just checked into the game, so tough to make that one when you're fresh off the bench and not really allow him to get in the flow.
Phoenix winning the scramble for the loose ball. Sheffield has to run it down. And 44 seconds on the game clock. That shot clock is down to 7 for Elon. Sheffield with 10 points in the first half, one of 2 double-digit scorers, along with Woods. It's only about a 3-second difference between game and shot clock. Programs first met back in 1912.
And Elon going to try to trap Cole Anthony, get the basketball out of his hands, and not allow him to make the play.
In a congested area, it was knocked away from Anthony, but a foul is called against Elon. That is Sheffield in his first personal here in the first half with just 8.1 seconds on the game clock.
And you notice I said Elon was going to try to do that because Cole Anthony had no intent of giving that basketball up. That he would have gave it up once they got into scoring position. But he was going to make a play at the end of this half. He wasn't going to allow Elon to basically take him out of it.
Three of 7 from the line for North Carolina, while Elon is perfect 7 of 7 from the stripe in the first half. And 1 for 2 for Anthony, and it cuts that lead to a point. He's got 5 points in this first half, but remember, he averages over 27 per game.
I know your memory's good, so you remember us in Charlottesville last night watching Anthony Lamb go for 25 points in the second half versus Virginia.
And 30 overall as Vermont challenged the Cavaliers, who ultimately won that game. Take a look at the halftime score.
And Elon is definitely more than challenging the Tar Heels here at the Smith Center. Cole Anthony being a facilitator tonight. But I believe the Heels are going to need his scoring in the second half. The Elon Phoenix with a 1-point lead at the intermission.
Phoenix so strong to start the game, but cooling off a little bit as the half went along. But with the halftime lead, 33-32. North Carolina, the only other time in this young season that they trailed was on the road at Notre Dame in the first game of the season. They trailed by a point, but went on to win that game against Notre Dame. And they got that victory in that first game of the season at home, 76-65.
And, you know, one of the things for Elon, the difference for them as well has been they're 7 for 7 from the free throw line, where North Carolina at 4 of 8 has given away a number of points. Elon taking advantage of their opportunities when they get to the charity stripe. And part of the reason why they have a 1-point lead.
North Carolina 3-0 on the season, 1-0 in conference play with the win at home against Notre Dame, and they're 2-0 on their home floor so far this year. Tom Wormy, Corey Alexander, as we crank up the second half of ACC College Hoops from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. This is Black stepping back and knocking down a three to stop the half for the Tar Heels, and he's got 7 points.
In the exact same spot on the opposite end of the floor, Leaky Black knocking down his second three-pointer. And when you have a post presence as Armando Bacot presents on the interior, he's going to be double-teamed. And because of that, he's able to find Leaky Black right at the top of the key.
2 for 4 in three-point attempts in the game for Black. Woods misses. And a foul against the Phoenix. Ozier, second foul.
And I would expect to see North Carolina trying to go back inside to Bacot, considering Simon Wright has 3 fouls and is going out competing here, of course, to start the second half. So 1 foul for him could pretty much hamper him for the remainder of this second half.
Woods has just picked up his 3rd personal for Elon. Ozier got nicked up in the first half, and you see he's got that bandage above the right eye as he got tangled up with Cole Anthony inadvertently. But back in the lineup for the Phoenix after getting the bandage. The turnaround on the bounce. Bacot.
And no double team on that possession. Bacot doing a great job of being patient and getting to that jump hook.
This 4-point lead is the largest of the game for the Tar Heels. Blocked Bacot. Wright tried to drive it. Bacot denied him. He's got to go strong to the rim and got fouled. Ozier picks up the foul, his 3rd.
And I love it, seeing the big fella getting it done on both ends of the floor. Bacot going on to the interior. The right-hand jump hook to finish. blocking a shot on the other end of the floor, coming up with the big block, getting it into the point guard's hands, immediately sprinting the floor and trying to finish over top of the Phoenix defense, getting to the free throw line.
Bacot was 2 of 3 from the line in the first half.
You see he and Cole Anthony with the short exchange there. These two guys, great friends. Been really good friends for a number of years. And Armando Bacot was probably the lead recruiter on Cole Anthony. Of course, Hubert Davis and Roy Williams did a tremendous job, but I can tell you for certain Armando Bacot was talking to him on a daily basis, trying to get him to come to Chapel Hill.
And you can see how dominating the Tar Heels have been, scoring in the second half against their opponents this season. Just the 4th game of the year for North Carolina, number 5 in the nation. And trying to remain undefeated against Elon tonight. Deep into the shot clock with 4 on it. Sheffield rattled it off the backboard. Anthony, 3-on-1. Bacot to finish in the field.
I can tell you what I love most about that play. Cole Anthony has not had a big scoring game, but it was not important for him to get points. It was more important to get his big fella involved. That's point guard play for number 2 in white as UNC gets a 7-point lead.
If you like to an 8-0 run to start the second half for North Carolina to take a 7-point lead. Cole Anthony on the run. It's our Toyota Let's Go places.
And it's the small things, Tom Wormy, that make point guard spectacular. Cole Anthony could have easily taken that to the basket and finished himself, but he sees the way that the big man, Armando Bacot, is running the floor, rewards the big for running. It's a mental thing, but it builds so much confidence for your teammates. And these two guys, we mentioned it before, great friends. And right now, Cole Anthony more concerned about Armando Bacot becoming the guy that North Carolina needs for him to be. He'll sacrifice his scoring to make sure he's got some help down the road.
5 assists for Anthony, also 7 rebounds. And Elon just 1 of their last 15 field goal attempts. Anthony gets the foul. That's his second. Phoenix have not won here in Chapel Hill since 1913. The score of that game in 1913, Corey, was 21-15.
Did they have to get on the ladder and take it out of the peach basket in 1913?
Probably. Last all-time win was 1918 for Elon against North Carolina. The score of that one was 28-21, a little bit higher scoring. So you have to go back to the early 1900s, dig into the record books to find success for the Phoenix against the Tar Heels, who have won 12 in a row overall in the series. Hosier, bandage and all over the defender. He's got 4 points.
And North Carolina getting back down the floor quickly in that patented break. And the way that Bacot is working on the interior, it's going to open up opportunities for his teammates on the outside.
Keeling got a really nice look, but couldn't knock it down. Anthony past 3 defenders and drops it off. So Keeling moving without the basketball.
Another one of those plays. Could be a shot, but the better shot is for his teammate, and dropping it off once again. Now 6 assists for Cole Anthony as he continues to be more of a facilitator in this game than score.
5 points for Keeling. A wide miss for the Phoenix. Black shuttles it across to Keeling. Brooks had the position. The foul was called before the double-fisted jam.
And Anthony once again getting inside the paint, but great vision to see Keeling cutting to the basket and dropping it off. And I mentioned it before, this young man wants to be a triple-double threat at all times. He loves to score. I never take that away from him, and he is a great scorer. But he's also a great passer and really good rebounder. So when you think about that, he wants to be a guy that's always going to be a threat to do something positive for his team when he has the ball in his hands. And for this North Carolina team, he's going to have the ball in his hands constantly, so he'll have all those opportunities.
Bacot's got 11 into double digits.
Interior passing could be the key for this team this year, which it always is for North Carolina. One of the true systems that play two bigs, and when they work well together, it's beautiful.
Outlet to Black. Keeling. Brooks. Brooks turns around. The foul is going against Elon. Foul on Irvin is second.
It's old school, but it works. High-low basketball. The seal, the finish. North Carolina by 9.
Put forth by Brandon Robinson. And all those items that were collected will be distributed. And that tournament coming up, the battle for Atlantis for North Carolina.
And I'm so impressed with this younger generation and their concern for others and trying to help others. I can't imagine that even if there were Twitter when I was in college, I don't think that I would have had the presence of mind to do something like that. And my hat's off to Brandon Robinson for doing so. And a young man who, of course, hasn't been playing due to a sprained ankle he suffered on November 1st and is getting closer to returning. We talked to Roy Williams about the possibility of him playing. He wanted to get a minutes before they got to the Bahamas. Most likely won't play tonight, but hopefully they will see him once they get to the Bahamas. And, of course, he'll be delivering the goods to those in need in the Bahamas and hopefully delivering on the court for the Heels.
Hurricane Dorian hitting in early September. North Carolina last played in the battle for Atlantis back in 2014, and they'll play 27th to the 29th in the Bahamas. Alley-oop. Brooks was able to grab it, avoided the travel, and the ball ends up back with Anthony for three. Foul on the play on the shot by Bacot.
Offensive rebounding, another staple of North Carolina's success. When the shot goes up, North Carolina bigs fight just as hard for offensive rebound as they do defensive rebound. And this time, Armando Bacot awarded for his effort on the offensive glass with an opportunity to try to put 2 more points on the board at the free throw line.
10-1 in offensive boards favoring North Carolina. Here's the upcoming schedule. The battle for Atlantis as they head to the Bahamas. There is a chance they could play Gonzaga in that battle for Atlantis, so they could play them twice because they're at Gonzaga December 18th as well, Corey.
But a very tough schedule for North Carolina coming up when you think about the 3 games at the battle for Atlantis. You have Ohio State coming to this building. You've got to go on the road after that to Virginia. So the next 5 games for North Carolina, pretty tough. And then, as you mentioned, that rematch with Gonzaga, who came here #1 in the country a year ago, and North Carolina was able to knock them off in this building. So I'm sure the Zags will be remembering that.
It's going to be a steep learning curve for this North Carolina team, which defeated Gonzaga in 2017 in the national championship.
But that is an old play out of the North Carolina handbook. The back door, unable to finish, but that would have made Dean Smith proud. Taking advantage of the pressure on the perimeter.
McIntosh was reaching in for his second personal. But when we started the half, Elon had a 1-point lead. It's 47-35 now, North Carolina. Bacot leads the way with his 12 points as McIntosh will come out. Bacot's got 10 rebounds. Elon has 11 total rebounds. Second double-double this season for Bacot tonight.
And he's finding his way. Of course, not all freshmen are going to come in and score 34 in their first time out. Actually, there's only been one freshman to ever do it in the ACC, which would be Cole Anthony. So, but it takes time for freshmen to be able to adjust to playing in this league, especially when you're playing a conference game to start it off. But Armando Bacot has gotten better and better each game. We talked about 12 points, 11 rebounds versus Gardner-Webb the last time out. Now already a double-double in this one, and he's not done yet. So you have to think that he continues to build confidence. And at the right time, as the Tar Heels move to Atlantis, and have to play against stiffer competition.
2 straight games for Bacot with double-doubles after that win against Gardner-Webb last Friday, 77-61. It's a 16-2 run for North Carolina to start the second half. Elon able to come away with that one. Andy Pack got it. Sheffield for 3.
He's put together another solid game on the road, knocking down another 3-pointer. It's still an 11-point game, but for Elon, of course, it's not out of reach because North Carolina isn't a team that's going to slow it down. They're going to continue to try to put the pressure on you offensively.
Shot clock is inside of 10. Sheffield's the leading scorer for Elon with 13 points and a couple of threes. Pierce through the paint, got tripped up. Pass from Brooks, though, as Pierce was cutting.
That was just great ball movement all around for North Carolina. Anthony recognizing the trap coming, gets it in the hands of Platek, who finds Brooks. And Pierce moving without the basketball, gets an opportunity to put some points on the board from the line. But, you know, North Carolina has not shot the ball very well from the free throw line tonight. So when you think about the areas of improvement for this team, you know, there are a number of them for North Carolina, but you also have to remember how many players for this team are playing in new roles. And I would have to say everyone outside of Garrison Brooks is playing a different role than they played a year ago, whether it's Cole Anthony and Armando Bacot, who were in high school, or guys like Platek and Justin Pierce, who were role players. And of course, Pierce was a role player. I mean, was a star at William & Mary, but again, it's a completely different level having to play here in Chapel Hill.
4 for 4 from the free throw line for Justin Pierce, 6 points. It's a wild shot there from Woods. Anthony runs it up, challenges the entire 7 points, Cole Anthony.
And there's no way to guard that, John Wormy. I'm just telling you that when you get there that fast and you're that strong and the ability to finish in the paint, there's nothing you can do about it. Cole Anthony hasn't shot the ball well from beyond the arc tonight, so basically he just takes it inside the paint and gets it easy.
Yeah, he's 0 for 4 on 3-point attempts tonight. Sheffield has that one spin off the rim. And the putback is good. Looked like Hannah was in there.
It looked like hand-to-hand combat in there. Somebody got tossed. Surprised there was no whistle, but another from Cole Anthony pushing the pace, and Garrison Brooks gets the easy dunk.
He's got double digits with 10 now for Brooks.
Say what, I like what Sheffield has done here, and of course he's been able to do it at Michigan, had a solid game at Georgia Tech. But I believe, you know, the CAA has to be on notice that Marcus Sheffield is coming. When they get the conference play, he could be a problem.
He's got 16 points tonight. November 11th was that game at Georgia Tech in a 64-41 loss for Elon. 2-2 on the season for the Phoenix. 0-2 away from their beautiful campus. Cole Anthony tonight, 7 assists and 7 boards scoring.
Well, he hasn't shot it well, but he is helping his friends get involved. Garrison Brooks with the finish off a beautiful feed from, I call, Little CA.
5:43. Cole Anthony, one of his 7 assists. He's got 7 points, 7 rebounds. The 7 assists. And the game has sped up in the second half for Elon as North Carolina trailed by 1. But they have taken command of this game.
This stat has been sponsored by the number 7 for Cole Anthony.
How about this? There has never been a triple-double by a freshman here at North Carolina.
I believe he will make that happen this year. I'm going to go
What about tonight?
I don't know about tonight.
All right.
But there's a chance, of course. But I do believe that he will make that happen at some point this season. As I mentioned before, averaged a triple-double at Oak Hill a year ago. And took a lot of pride in his passing. Started out the season averaging 13 assists a game until his assistant coach Oh, my man B-Rock right there sitting beside Greg Anthony. Brian Marr, another one of our assistant coaches at Oak Hill. And that was the assistant coach that told Cole Anthony he needed to score a little more.
It's good coaching.
But, you know, I mean, again, he took a lot of pride in his ability to be able to help his teammates be successful, as he does here. Another beautiful find. And that's one of the things that Roy Williams talked to us about. He would be averaging a lot more assists. But there's two parts to an assist. There's a pass, and then you actually have to make the shot. And that's been the struggle for North Carolina this year, is finding someone outside of Anthony to be able to make a shot. But they've been able to do so here in the second half of this game, which is the reason why they have a 12-point lead.
Now they're shooting 50% from the floor in the second half, 45% overall as a team for the game in its entirety so far, with 10:48 to go in our second half. Tom Wormy, Corey Alexander, our outstanding ACC College Hoops production crew with you from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, in the Dean Smith Center. North Carolina wins 85% of its games in this building. 421 all-time wins. And it opened up back in 1986.
Believe it or not, I can remember watching the beginning of North Carolina basketball at the Smith Center. J.R. Reed, of course, my guy from the state of Virginia, was an awesome freshman at North Carolina. Now an assistant coach with King Rice at Monmouth.
North Carolina will play a game at Carmichael Arena. That's coming up December 15th against Wofford. 14 points.
Speaking of another spectacular freshman from the state of Virginia, wearing Carolina blue, Armando Bacot, coming up with a big performance, a career high for him now, 14 points on the night.
His season high was 12 points. He set that in the last game against Gardner-Webb, and he's bested that tonight against the Elon Phoenix.
And again, great interior passing against the zone, high-low basketball. And Bacot finishing. And I noticed him coming out before the game. And the beginning of his warm-up was he just stood under the basket and went up, dunking the basketball. Because finishing is something that's always going to be important for the big fellow on the inside.
And now a quick word from Advance Auto Parts.
I can sign 12 autographs in 6 seconds. So reminding you to check your battery this fast, easy.
Woods is at the free throw line for Elon. 11 points tonight. And he's made all 5 of his free throw attempts for the Phoenix, who lost in the first round of their conference tournament a season ago, which for the next 3 years will be in Washington, D.C. Our destination this year is Greensboro, North Carolina. Back to the roots of the ACC tournament after being in Charlotte a season ago. And watching Duke win an ACC title. Had a lot of fun in the Queen City last year. On to Greensboro this year. They've got the women's tournament in the ACC, the men's tournament, and the first and second round of the NCAA tournament. 3 weeks in a row in Greensboro at the Greensboro Coliseum.
And a great place to have the ACC tournament. Of course, with ACC basketball as great as it is, it's hard to find a bad place, but of course, the home is Greensboro, North Carolina. So when you take ACC basketball back home, you're normally going to have a spectacular performance.
Tar Heels have won the ACC tournament championship 18 times, second most. And they last won it in 2016, beat Virginia in the championship game. That was in Washington, D.C. Then we went 2 years to the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And then last year was in Charlotte. Of course, Carolina's made the title game 6 of the last 9 years. With their trip to the NCAA tournament last year, 50 times for this program to that championship.
Well, when you think blue blood, you have to think Carolina Blue is one of the first programs when you talk about the true blue bloods of college basketball. That man, Roy Williams, coming in, doing a great job after having a stellar career at Kansas. Coming back home to his alma mater here in Chapel Hill. winning 3 national championships, one more actually than the great Dean Smith, which I had a conversation the other day. If you have a Mount Rushmore of college basketball coaches, okay, 2 names for certain on there: John Wooden and Mike Krzyzewski. Okay, I think Bob Knight, who broke Dean Smith's record for most wins, and I think Dean Smith. But I was given opposition. Does Roy Williams belong on there? And if so, who do you take off to put Roy Williams on?
Conversation could go all night.
But I asked you.
Points now.
I asked you. I want to know, do you put Roy on? Do you take off Dean? Do you take off Bob Knight?
I might have to remove Coach Knight. Roy's won 3 championships here, took Kansas to a national final and lost to Syracuse. It's another coach, by the way, in upstate New York at the Carrier Dome who's done pretty well. 1 national title in 03.
How many does Bob Knight have? That would be 3. Bob Knight has 3 national championships. So the same number as Roy Williams. Are you sure you're going to take Roy Williams off? I'm sorry, not Roy Williams, but Bobby Knight off?
Yes, I am. I got to put Coach Williams on there.
I tell you what, I love Roy Williams. Great person, had the opportunity to play for Coach Williams on the USA basketball team as Cole Anthony continues dishing the basketball. But I'll be the first one to tell you, and I think Roy would say the same, he would not take Dean Smith off to put himself in. He recognizes everything that Dean Smith did for college basketball. As Irvin knocks down another 3.
Coach Williams was an assistant under Dean Smith from 1978 to 88. Naismith Hall of Fame, College Basketball Hall of Fame. Keeling. Bucket for Carolina. He's got 9. The lead is 13.
So much of what Dean Smith did went beyond the basketball. I mean, it was society in general where he has so much of an impact beyond basketball. Not that Roy Williams hasn't done that, but at the time, very few coaches have done what Roy Williams has done for what Dean Smith did for society.
The block at one end. We're running at the other end. Brooks lost the handle because of Pozaire, who was defending him. Brooks hit the court hard, but good sportsmanship.
Defense leading to great offense. Armando Bacot getting back, denying an opportunity for the Phoenix. The freshman has been big here tonight.
What a night for Bacot, Corey. 6 of 8 from the floor. Double-double, 16 points and 12 boards.
And he's growing up right in front of our eyes. Mondo, or Little Mondo, as his dad refers to him, showing up big here. A lot of high-low passing going on, and Bacot showing off his skill to jump hook once again, finishing over smaller defenders, and is starting to become that presence that North Carolina needs on the interior to complement Cole Anthony on the exterior to give this team a chance to be successful and hold on to that number 5 ranking nationally.
Little Mondo is 6'10", 232 pounds.
Big Mondo's not quite as tall. He might be 232. But that's my guy as well.
Double-double against Gardner-Webb. One tonight against the Elon Phoenix, a team that led North Carolina at the half by 1. Second half, though, Tar Heels pulling away on the strength of 50% as a team from the floor. Although they're just 1 of 7 from three-point range in the second half. Hasn't affected them. And overall 3 of 16 from 3.
Well, it has affected them because they've done a much better job defensively guarding Elon on that perimeter and not giving up the threes. But it's something that is going to have to be addressed, and I'm sure it will help when Brandon Robinson gets back into the lineup if he's capable of shooting the basketball similar to the way he did a year ago. But as Roy Williams said, he's going to get much more quantity, and we hope the quality is the same.
Brooks on the turnaround. It's too strong. Pierce tried to grab it on the baseline, lost the handle. Back to the Phoenix, trailing by 14 to North Carolina, 6:21 to go. Elon in this second half, Corey, just 26% from the floor. And 3 of 9 from 3. Bacot. Over Pozaire. Had to be careful. Pozaire's got 3 personals. 4 now. Keeling. Spin. Dump off. Bacot.
Another finish. And one thing that you notice, Armando Bacot is at both ends of the floor. He's running back defensively, but you see him sprinting the floor and getting down, and that's the characteristic of the North Carolina bigs. They have to run the floor. If you're not, Roy Williams is taking you out of the game. But one of the North Carolina ways is to be able to sub yourself so you can get back in. Started back with, of course, Dean Smith, and taken on by his protege, I would say, Roy Williams.
Sheffield's got 19 for Elon. This is Bacot. Very high degree of difficulty in the teeth of the defense, but Brooks bails him out with the offensive board.
And Bacot is tired right now. He's trying to get a sub. Roy Williams has Huffman at the table.
Big time collision as Anthony was trying to cut past Pozaire, and he picked up the offensive foul, his 3rd personal. Not a lot of daylight there, Corey.
It was not. Anthony would have been better served just continuing to go to his left.
Those 2 guys have mixed it up a little bit tonight, all in the course of play. They got tangled up in the first half. That's why Pozaire has the bandage above the right eye that you saw. Inside of 5 minutes to go in regulation. So glad that you've been with us for ACC College Hoops. From the Smith Center. High arcing shot. Goes all the way to McIntosh. Anthony rising for the board. He's got 10 rebounds. Keep an eye on that triple-double counter. He's got the rebound secured. He has 7 points and 8 assists. 10 boards. Irvin hits the deck after the 3. Brooks falls on top of him. Anthony swooping in. Couldn't get it past Pozaire.
It'll be interesting to see. On that last possession, Irving stuck out his leg. And that's an area where it could be considered a flagrant foul. Now, or a flop when you try to stick out your leg to get someone to foul you. Want to see if the officials are going to go over and check that in the timeout.
That is a point of emphasis this season. As far as the flopping is concerned, as Anthony barks out the commands to his teammates. They're up by 11. Trailed by a point at halftime. Pierce had it stripped away. Huffman is in there as well for North Carolina. 42 trying to close on Woods, and he's not there in time, and it's a 3.
And just like that, it's an 8-point game, and a little concern for Roy Williams. A game that North Carolina had at hand, and not able to finish, allowing Elon to get back into it with a number of 3-pointers.
It's an 8-0 run for the Phoenix over the last 2 minutes and change. 11 of 28 in the game from 3. This inside the arc and the miss from Sheffield as we hit the 3-minute mark. Timeout, Carolina.
Elon making it a game. Woods with another 3 to make it an 8-point game here on the road for the Phoenix. They're not done yet.
The Tar Heels had a lead as large as 16 in the second half. 8-0 run.
A chance to talk with Bill Covington, and he let us know that there was a player delay on Irvin for the previous play that we talked about. A player delay means that basically you get warned. The second one would be a Class B technical, which does not count as a personal foul, but a one-shot, one free throw technical foul against the team. So player delay is one of the things added this year as Cole Anthony finds his way in for his 9th point. Trying to find a double-double for him, but so if there's another player delay on Elon for anything or bench delay, there would be a technical foul.
So Anthony now has 9 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. Could be a double-double, could be a triple-double before the evening's done. Just over 2 minutes to go, and a three from Woods.
Well, this is what we saw from Elon in the first half. The ability to shoot the ball from three helped them stay in the game and actually have a halftime lead. North Carolina has beat them up on the inside, as Armando Bacot continues to do.
20 points now for Bacot, a season high.
Before the game, Wormy, he told me he had a big night in store. And he's been true to his word. Does a job defensively there coming up with the strip.
Anthony knocked away by Sheffield. Unable to save it for the Phoenix.
And lack of communication. That's one where one of Cole Anthony's teammates has to be yelling behind you, letting the point guard know that someone was bearing down trying to back tap in the basketball.
Tar Heels are 206 and 16 all time in the Smith Center against non-conference opponents.
KJ Smith getting in the game, wearing Dad's jersey, number 30, giving Cole Anthony a break. But in only a 9-point game, I don't think Anthony will be done.
Bacot with 16 points in the second half, 4 in the first. Playtech in the corner. Bacot in the paint.
The Wormy and I opened. We talked about who would be there to help out Cole Anthony. We spotlighted Armando Bacot, and he has been the guy here tonight with the double-double and a career-high 22 points.
14 rebounds as well. Also a career high for the freshman. 46 to 14, North Carolina outscoring Elon in the paint, and we're inside of a minute to play. Brooks fumbled it. It's going to stay at this end. Before we continue, a quick word from Works.
The Works Tri-Vac 3-in-1 Easy Switch from Blow to Vac is a game changer and a time saver. Your yard work champion.
So there is a timeout on the court with 48 seconds to go. And North Carolina leading 72-61 against Mike Schrage in the Elon Phoenix. He's in his first season as the head coach. I don't know that a lot of folks gave the Phoenix too much of a chance tonight, but they came out firing and they were determined to put together a good performance tonight against North Carolina. They have done so. Now, who did this go off of?
Yeah, under 2 minutes, the officials can review to make sure they've got it correct. You see Garrison Brooks get his hand on the basketball. But then Pozier comes in and knocks it out of his hands. From this angle, it looks as though Pozier hits it last, so the basketball will go to North Carolina and remain with the Tar Heels, which the call was on the floor.
Not enough evidence to overturn the call. Last 2 minutes of regulation and the last 2 minutes of overtime periods. We can go to the monitor for possession. Coach Williams just 48 seconds away from win number 457 as the head coach of the Tar Heels. And career win number 875. Brooks had the position. There was a whistle before the end of the play.
That has been something that North Carolina has really exploited here tonight. The high-low passing between the bigs, whether it's Bacot and Brooks. Justin Pierce getting involved in the action and moving the ball very well in the painted area. And again, you know, Roy Williams is one of the very few coaches who still play the traditional 3-out, 2-in system with the two bigs on the floor. And one of the reasons why Armando Bacot shows North Carolina, because he can play both those spots, as we see 5 reserves coming in. One will have to sit as Brooks shoots his free throw. Now, this used to be called blue steel. Is it still blue steel?
Carolina blue steel. That's what it's called.
I'll go with it.
So Brooks makes the free throw, and he will exit the game. 14 points for Garrison Brooks. The junior above his season average of 11.3. This is Sheffield straight away. Final 30 seconds. Some points for the reserves. Up and under, and free throws upcoming. Shea Rush.
But another game where the Tar Heels will not score 80 points. And this is not something that Roy Williams is accustomed to. It's going to have to be a better defensive team this year for North Carolina to be successful, because they don't score at the clip that he's used to.
First free throw of the season for Rush is good. You want to be sure to tune in this weekend. We're coming down the home stretch. ACC college football, a doubleheader. Liberty against Virginia at noon. Now Virginia's still very much alive and in the driver's seat for the Coastal Division. That will not affect their conference record, obviously. They play Virginia Tech at the end of the season at home, and then Mercer and North Carolina right here in Chapel Hill. And the Tar Heels are trying to become bowl eligible. They need the win against Mercer and also a win on the road at NC State the last weekend of the season to become bowl eligible. That's ACC college football. This is ACC college hoops, and it's a win for North Carolina against the Elon Phoenix, 75-61. Corey, the Phoenix led by 1 at halftime. The second 20 minutes belongs to the Tar Heels.
And Armando Bacot with a breakout performance here in game number 4 for the freshman, showing why he was the heralded recruit. Cole Anthony doing a tremendous job facilitating. Not a big scoring night for the ACC scoring leader, but most importantly, a win for the Tar Heels as they move to the Battle for Atlantis next week.
9 points for Anthony, 10 rebounds and 8 assists. And Bacot, big night, 22 points and 14 boards. And North Carolina wins it 75-61. Don't forget that ACC football doubleheader, Liberty and Virginia starting at noon. And then at 3:30, it'll be Mercer and Mac Brown's North Carolina Tar Heels. You want to check your local listings. Once again, for Corey Alexander and our outstanding ACC College Hoops production crew, I'm Tom Wormy saying so long from Chapel Hill. It's the Tar Heels over the Phoenix, 75-61.